Guitars. My name is Chris. Behind the camera is Matt, as always. It is a rainy day and a rainy week here in Florida, which is as close as we get to like a snow day. And so it's just a nice day to be in the shop doing some work. And today we're doing something a little bit different, and that is going to be just a kind of how-to on how to do abalone on the perimeter of the back of your guitar or the front of your guitar. Just a really specific video on that, something fun to do. This is a really cool Grand Session guitar that is coming across the home stretch, a nice Amazon rosewood back and side with a, I think Adirondack spruce, Addy top on this guitar. I'm finishing up for a buddy of mine named Duncan, who have been good friends for years, and we're doing these really cool inlays that I'm going to be doing on the fretboard. This is just the paper mock-up, yeah, it's, the Hanson is what he really wanted for his inlays on the fretboard.
Bop indeed.
Yeah, big fan of Hanson.
Yeah.
But so what we're going to be doing is the abalone that I've already added to the soundboard on this guitar that goes around the perimeter. We're going to be doing that on the back of this instrument. We also have abalone trim on the sides of the guitar, which is a little bit more complicated in some ways, but simpler in some ways as well. But what we have left is the channel on the back of the guitar. So let's rewind a little bit to what got us to this step. What got us to this step is knowing in advance that we're going to do abalone trim and how wide we want it. This is a 64 thousandths wide abalone strips that I get from Advanced Shell Technology. I have reached out to Advanced Shell Technology to see if they would kind of work with us in a more official capacity in the past, and they said reach out to us in the future. This was like 2 years ago, so I haven't heard back from them this time though. So
I think the kids call it leaving you on red.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah, they left you on red.
Yeah, they haven't heard back from them, so I'm paying full price for my abalone, and that's fine. That's fine. It's fine.
It's fine. If you think about it, it's a good thing.
But I do seriously want to plug their abalone shell. You can get this. You can get abalone or mother of pearl from a lot of different suppliers. But I really like this Advanced Shell Technology stuff. They're known for their flexible abalone strips, but they also sell straight strips, which a lot of people don't know about. And it is an abalone, which means that it's really tiny, thin layers of the most colorful part of the shell laminated together. And so the benefit of that is, A, it breaks really nice and easy for you to be able to do bent curves, but also as you sand it and you start to sand through those layers, you don't lose the coloration because you're constantly revealing a new, really colorful layer. So I do highly recommend it. These are like $5.50 per like 5-inch strip, so it can get pricey, but in my opinion, worth it. You know, depends on what you want. So you need to know before you cut your binding channels for the abalone what width you're going to use. I use 64 thousandths for my tops and my backs, and you're going to cut that binding channel to also have a ledge on it that will match this width, as well as purfling if you choose to do so. And I am doing a purfling of a white, black, white, and just a white, black that is combined to match the thickness and the width of this channel to go all the way around. For those of you that have never done this before or seen how it's done, your aha moment's going to come when you see that we use this Teflon strip. This Teflon strip is the real key to being able to do this quickly and easily. They sell these Teflon strips in the same gauge thicknesses as your standard abalone or pearl strips are. So this is 64 thousandths wide to match the 64 thousandths width of my abalone. And so what we need to do is start on one side. On a cutaway guitar, it's important that you start on the miter joint that you have in the corner. You start from there, and we're going to come this way on each side. But the reason you start there is because you want to be able to get your miter joint nice and tight to look really nicely. So what I've gone ahead and done before we started recording here was put a 45-degree angle into my purfling. And so that's already in place. And what we are going to do, this is going to be a little bit probably hard for Matt to get all on video really good, just because it's a little bit finicky with the autofocus and all that stuff, but bear with us, bear with us. So I'm going to set my purfling in, and then I'm going to take my Teflon, I'm going to fish it in just slowly here. I use a flat tip screwdriver just to press it in, and it should. There we go. Everything starts to sit in really nicely. All right. So before I get too far though, I'm going to use my screwdriver here. I'm going to push this piece so that it hits that corner, and now I'm going to pull back on this one here to get it to match Oh, maybe I'm gonna push it back to get it to match that corner. I think that's pretty self-explanatory, right? Mm-hmm. And now we're just going to start working our way around. Hang on, let's get it to seat. It can be really finicky on the first few inches. Once you kind of get it started, it starts to get a lot easier though. So it can be lots of expletives. A lot of times what I do is I just get it going. I kind of just quickly get it roughly into place, hold it with this hand, and now I'm gonna take my screwdriver and I'm gonna continue to push in here. There we go. Suddenly it becomes a lot easier. Take my screwdriver. My hammer.
Dude, I'm just like, if I don't say it, some armchair luthier out there will. So you know what? I'm saving you the hassle.
You want to use your hammer and your screwdriver.
Let's see. You want to take your screwdriver and then your hammer and.
Listen, I'm really good at this.
Hey, you should do this for a living.
You want to be a little careful because you can. If you get in too much of a hurry with this, you can actually get it. It can kind of get bound up, and you'll start to delaminate the purfling, or you can break the glue seal on your binding. There's a lot that you can do to really kind of to screw up here. So just take your time. If it takes too much force, then you need to slow down because something's not right. In fact, this is our second take of shooting this video because I started to try to get this Teflon strip in and realized I actually had the wrong width purfling because nothing was fitting, so we started back over. But you know, you pay attention to that. Don't just get in there with your screwdriver, your hammer. Don't get in there with your hammer and just start trying to force everything because you'll start to pop off your binding and you're going to get yourself into trouble. The other thing that's important too is to really make sure that your Teflon is seated really nice and flat at the bottom of the channel. These Teflon strips, they last you probably about, if you take decent care of them, probably about 10 guitars before you gotta throw them out. They're kind of like consumable. They're not meant to last you like for a lifetime. They're also not very expensive. So we're just gonna work our way around.
And they're non-stick, right?
They're non-stick, yes. You can get them at the as seen on TV stores. No, but so you can see kind of what I did there. I hammered in the purfling. That got the purfling seated, and now I need to push in the Teflon part with my screwdriver. That's kind of what I do. I get the purfling in, and then I push in the Teflon with the screwdriver afterwards, just to get everything kind of nice and mushed in there. And we'll just work our way a little bit further. You can even just use the face of the hammer to kind of just get things started. While we're doing this, because it's kind of self-explanatory, I haven't even told Matt, so we're gonna throw this on there while we're doing it. But I thought something cool to do would be on the giveaway guitar, Matt. Maybe because we're gonna do whatever kind of finish we want on, but maybe with the help of our patrons, we can have them have a little bit of input on like maybe what kind of pickups and stuff we put inside of it.
Ooh, I like
that'd be
that.
kind of a cool thing, right?
Yeah.
So
community involvement.
Yeah, I think that's a cool thing, right? So yeah, just I was thinking about that laying in bed last night. We could do some cool let the patrons kind of pick a little bit with it.
Yeah, I know you can do a polling option in there, so maybe yeah.
So the way that I do my guitars on my back straps is I wrap them around the back of the guitar. They come up here, the end graft. It comes here and it wraps around, which is nice for me because I can leave a gap there. If you're not doing that on your guitars, which most people don't, you're really gonna want to make sure that you get that nice and perfectly jointed so that there's no gap. My guitars, there's gonna be a gap. It's just a little bit easier. So we've got that in. I'm not gonna glue it in place yet. We are now going to switch over to the treble side of the guitar and do the same thing. And the reason why we're not gonna do that yet is because we wanna make sure everything fits first before we get crazy. Finding my bevel end that I put in. You wanna make sure that you're matching your colors. So I did just the white black on this side. Oh, see, I messed up already. And then white, black, white here. I did my bevel. I don't know if you can see that on camera, Matt. So this one is white and black. On this side, I did my bevel black and white. So I need to flip this one over and put a new 45-degree angle on it so that it lines up. So I'm glad that happened on camera. It's actually a good thing if you think about it. Just so that you don't mess up. I have had guitars that I thought I was done with, and then looked at it and it was like, oh my god. I put them in the wrong order. So it's a good thing I don't glue them in until I'm done. So now I'm gonna get it started. I'll show you a little other trick that I do. Let's see if I can get my tape. You can use a little bit of binding tape just to give you a third hand here. You can just do that to give you kind of some free hands for a second so that you can get started. This is one of these jobs where you just find whatever tools will work. Pressing, I open it up with the screwdriver, press in my Teflon, and that gets us started. All right, so you can see how terrible that looks, right? We have no good miter joints there. That looks awful. So now I can take this and push everything into place. Also, once again, showing you why I don't want to glue anything in yet, because I want to make sure that I get this right first before I do any gluing. Very importante. Let's see. Let me take that and trim it down just a little bit so that we can see better. Yeah. And then we're gonna push this one. Boom.
Nice.
So that is our joint there. So now we're ready to go.
It's very satisfying.
Very satisfying. Kind of just roughly putting this in. So what's weird about, well, not weird, but guitars, because they have this slant that comes down like here, you end up with my binding jig that I use, you end up with not as deep of a channel up here on the upper end of the guitar. So it can be a little harder to get these in all the way. Being careful on your cutaway, if you are doing a cutaway, to just not get too quick with the bending, because you can break it and more cussing is involved at that point. Something else that I wanted to mention is that you want to make sure that this channel is clear of any glue squeeze out from the binding before you do this. You want your channel to be nice and clean. You can use those like micro chisels that a lot of the luthier stores sells. And listen, some of y'all been giving me grief about like the fact that I have too many nice tools, but like, dude, I do this for a living. You gotta have the right tools for the job. Like, it doesn't make me like a snob because I like tools. Like, listen, we're broke because I buy all these tools.
I'm not even wearing shoes right now.
Yeah,
okay?
I just like nice tools. Like, don't judge me because I have tools.
We eat the sawdust we make.
Yeah, everybody likes good tools. My wife would say that I'm one of them. All right, so we're going to continue on with the pushing in of the Teflon. You don't want to get too far down the line before you start pushing that in. That's nice and seated, and then we're going to keep going. We're going to keep on keeping on. It's hard to not get everything tangled up. It can be such a pain. Some of these guitars can just fight me the whole way when I'm doing this, and you're just like pissed off. But this one's actually going nicely. And we are going to keep pressing in. So I know that there's some steps missing here, obviously. Like, we didn't talk about me cutting the binding, but we are going to be doing that in the 3,000-year-old guitar build. I just wanted to do a little bit of a separate video on how I do this. Not necessarily as a how-to, and it is a how-to, but this is kind of like for a lot of those people who are just curious on how it's done, you know? I think it's just a cool, like, oh, I get it now, kind of a moment. And for a lot of you guys, this is going to be your first inlay. You know, this I don't call this an inlay. I guess it is. It's just, to me, not really an inlay. And there, boom, we are set. This is fine. This little pigtail, not a big deal. So checking our miters and everything, making sure everything is good. We're nice and seated. We don't want to have any gaps or anything. Something I will say for people who are kind of just getting going and maybe not super good at good clean joints and getting your binding nice and flat, a trick you can do is use black, white, black purfling, which means it's a black line. Sorry, phone ringing. Which means it's a black line, white line, and a black line. You can use those black on the outside facing your binding, because it can mask gaps. You can almost use it to hide any sort of gaps that you have for any sort of sloppy work that you have. Just a little pro tip. If you use white purfling, it's going to show any sort of gaps you have. So if you're just kind of getting going and struggling with getting good joints and everything, that's a way to get around a little bit of that. Hey, we all got to hide our the measure of a good luthier is how well they can recover from mistakes. So I'm using number 10, StewMac super glue. Any of the super thin, really high viscosity super glues will work here. So what we're gonna do is I'm just gonna take my number 10 and we're just gonna go around and apply this. Oh my God, the tip just broke off. I don't want to brag, but this is going on very satisfyingly. So I'm doing the inside purfling, and then we're going to go and do the outside. You will have your hardest points to get nice tight joints around here, around the horn of a cutaway. You can see also, this is just another way that this kind of really ties everything in even better. You know, your binding's glued in, and now you're adding like all this extra reinforcement essentially. It's not what it's for, it's decoration, but it definitely adds a little bit to it, to the strength. It has to, I think. Of course, now everybody's like, no, it doesn't. All you armchair engineers out there. I'm doing one more quick pass on the inside. I want to make sure that we get that all the way in there. All right, so that's in. Woo! That's strong. We're gonna hit it with some accelerant. Okay, so we've got the accelerant sprayed. That is locked and loaded. And now what we can do is pull our Teflon out. And this is kind of like this is like when you pull the plastic off of your cell phone when you first buy it. It's very satisfying. What did we get yesterday, Matt? Oh, we got a new computer monitor. And we got to pull the plastic off, and it was just like, but sometimes they can get it stuck in there a little bit. Cool. These little micro chisels, super useful. Buy them. Unless it makes you a tool snob, I don't know. Pull that out, and what I tend to do is I will spray again one more time, because you end up with a little puddle of super glue at the bottom of this channel. So I just hit it again just to get that dried up. So cool, right? So now if Matt can get a little bit of a close-up on that, what you see is we have a perfect channel that will fit our pearl, right? Aha!
Nice.
So what I'm gonna do, you can see how proud that is. It's sitting very, very proud. I don't want to do that. I'm gonna go ahead and knock that down just a little bit, being very gentle with a hand plane, nice and sharp, because you don't want to. You can push, even though it's glued in place already, you can knock it out of the way if you're too aggressive with your hand plane. So I just take this and knock it down a little bit. I'm not gonna take it to flush. Getting it knocked down just a little bit is gonna make this job a little bit easier. So we'll go around and do that right quick. Okay, so that's knocked down. We've just brought it down lower so that when we hammer this pearl into, we know that it's all the way nice and flat. So this is super easy, dude. Like, all you do is take. First thing we need to do, because we have a cutaway, once again, is we need to put a 45-degree bevel on that to get us started. If you're not doing a cutaway, not an issue. I do that just by eyeball. Using my glasses, it really helps. These glasses are the deal. The older I get, the better they get. And I will start at the corner here. That's not a good 45. I need to just adjust it real quick. And we are going to, yeah, that's nice and good. Just begin hammering it into place. Really nice and easy. I am going to, as I do this, if it breaks, be aware of where it broke. That's important, because you want to match them up so that you don't see your break lines. and just really tiny hits. And you want to be breaking it to fit into the channel as you go around. Using the pressure of your hand and the hammer to just do it. And the cool thing about abalone is that because it's got all those little lines and colors inside of it, you don't see any of the break lines. I'll use a flat tip here, push on it, and just make sure it's nice and tight. I'll use the screwdriver to push this way with it, and that one's in. See how quick that was, right? And then I take my number 10, my high viscosity super glue, and then just a little bit of glue in there. It will go a really long way just to hold it in place. That's good. I'm gonna have Matt follow me for just a second as we come around this corner, and then we are gonna cut to some sexy B-roll as we do the rest of it. But it just becomes a little bit harder as you come around your corners, inside your waist, around your cutaway. But it's really fascinating for most people to see a straight piece like this to be able to fit around curves. The trick to it, I find, is you don't want to hold. You want to get your start. You don't want to be holding it out here. You want to be holding it close to where you're hammering. And I'm applying pressure with my thumb into the direction of the curve. And then the way that I'm picturing this is, let's use this as the sample. Pretend this is the pearl. I'm using my hammer as the breaker. I'm using it so exactly where my hammer hits the pearl is where I'm breaking it into tiny little pieces. So I'm kind of guiding it as I go like that. So you'll see me do that here. That easy. So I do know, to me it's really easy, and then I had my apprentice do the same thing, and then I realized that it's just I've been doing it for a long time, so it looks easy. So I will say that you probably are going to be a little bit more frustrated if this is your first time doing this at home. But it's not super hard. To make it a little easier on yourself, you can do not as long lengths at a time. But that's it. So I'm just going to do that around the whole guitar. We're just going to go around the whole thing. And then once you do that, you just take your sander and you sand it level and you're done. It's like, it's not a hard thing to do, and it's such a nice thing. If you're getting into selling guitars, it's a nice thing that you can do to really add some value to your instruments too. But yeah, what I'm gonna do is just keep on keeping on. As you do each strip, do come back with your super glue and kind of set things in place, because what can happen is as you hammer, you're creating all these vibrations and pieces of pearl start popping out. So put the super glue in just to secure it into place. You don't go nuts with the super glue though, y'all. So yeah, B-roll time. That's the last of it on the treble side of the guitar, so I'm just going to hit that with the super glue. Something I do want to mention for those of you that are not using an abalone shell, you're using like a mother of pearl or a solid shell. Take your time as you put your strips in and get everything to color match. You know, you want to be lining these up with pieces that look of similar hue so that you end up basically, it looks like one giant cohesive piece of pearl. Abalone and abalone really hides all that, and it's not a big deal. You're gonna end up with little gaps and stuff in there. It's not a big deal. Hit this with some super glue or with some accelerant. Let that settle, and I'm gonna hit it with the sander real fast, and we're gonna be done. All right, so I'm gonna use a 180 grit with my Festool sander here on kind of like the more aggressive cut, and we're just gonna knock this down and get it nice and level, and this will take just a second. All right. So what we end up with once we do that is you'll see there's some spots that are a little low, where the pearl's a little bit lower than the surface of the guitar, but we'll just hit that with some thicker super glue and build it up with a little bit of super glue, level sand it, kind of rinse and repeat. But let me hit this with some naphtha, or some mineral spirits, so you can see how she looks. Oh, kind of forgot how good that Amazon rosewood looks. Just just a stunning piece of wood. Yeah, and that is really about all that it takes to get that nice and put in there, and you can see how much that just adds to it, especially like as we move it around and it catches the light. Just a really, really, really nice accent to the guitar. So I hope that helped you guys have a better understanding of how pearl goes into a guitar. We're gonna do all of this again on the 3,000-year-old guitar build, so you'll get to see a little bit more the steps that are involved on the front end before we actually do that. But there's something super fun. I encourage you guys to give it a try if you have not done it on your guitars. And yeah, guys, we appreciate you, and we will see you in the next one.